Welcome everybody to Tell Me Exactly. This is a podcast, and I'm going to be your host, Bobby Benton. Today, I am pleased to have Mark Von Behren with us today. He's come and visited me a couple times. I appreciate you coming back, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And today, we want to talk about what makes a dispatcher exceptional. What are we looking at whenever we go here? I know that whenever I first got into the public safety field many years, oh my goodness, many years ago, I didn't think I could count that high. But when I did, there wasn't like a criteria or anything of that nature that we had to go by. Basically, whenever you are thinking about doing this, and coming into the field, especially in the 911 center. Mark, can you tell me what does a new dispatcher need to know to be able to handle their job well?
Yeah, I think you bring up some really good point there, Bobby. Is times have definitely changed from the time you and I first stepped into law enforcement many years ago, as you mentioned, until now. I reflect back and I can remember that the computerization of things was actually just forthcoming into law enforcement and communications around the world when we began, and it has just expanded exponentially since then. So, you do have to look at the very basics, in my opinion, of the job of communicator, telecommunicator, dispatcher, whatever that may be. I think the first thing we have to look at is communications. What is a particular person's knack for communicating? It's not maybe just the ability to talk, but to provide some exact specific details, whether it's verbalization of those details or in written communication. So we've got to be just as good a listener as we are, a talker as a listener. So sometimes the difficult thing to do is be quiet and listen. What is a caller or someone telling us?
When you talk about like the computers and everything coming around nowadays, whenever I first came on, we didn't have computers in the police cars and all that good stuff. I remember when I had to go in and work the radio room when we had a dispatcher that was out, that we had the cards and we had to write, and we used a regular timestamp machine like you do at a regular job. Yeah, so things have changed a lot. What I'm getting from you is that it isn't just being able to jump in front of a screen and being able to type or know how to do a Google search or something of that nature. It's actually being able to carry on a conversation and also listen to certain things that they're saying that they might not be saying, but we need to listen for. Is that what I'm getting from you?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying is effective communication is not just talking, but listening. And sometimes it may be things that are not spoke across the phone lines. You can hear gestures from a particular caller that you may need that call taker to be able to interpret in their best opinion of what is going on the other side of that phone line. It's with the computerization, we have, like you said, not to be able to talk, be able to type, but we throw in their multitasking, whether they're on the phone at the same time they're typing through the software that's out there with multiple programs of software that a call taker dispatcher might have to deal with from, not just CAD, but also software for protocols and other things, mapping and whatever particular organization they're dispatching for, whether it's police, fire, EMS.
I can tell you that when I went from the other side of the radio, from the patrol car to this side of the radio, working with all the wonderful people in our 911 centers worldwide, I come to realize that they do a lot. I'm a simple person. I just put it out. I'm a simple person. You give me a task, I'll handle that task. But while I'm handling that task, don't be asking me all this other stuff too. you know? If I was decide to try to do this, I mean, what kind of skills would I need to like work on to, or what can I do on that could help me improve that type of thing?
Well, you bring up some good points, Bobby. As simple as is things that make it more difficult in the details. Yes, we may have a specific job to do, whether it's call taking or dispatching or both in some particular organizations, but they've got to be extremely detail oriented. Things that come to mind in detail is to be able to be a good problem solver and listening to the caller, being able to formulate an opinion of what's going on and be able to give those specific details that they're comfortable with, and being able to deal with the conflict comfortably. It's one thing to sympathize with a particular person, but it's another to empathize with that person, and that's in the detail, which makes a good dispatcher, in my opinion. Being able to have multiple routes of delivery in whatever the situation may be, and their capacity to be able to deal with those situations.
Now, I know previously when we talked before, you told me that at the end of your law enforcement career, you were a comm manager for your 911 center. Am I correct on that?
That is exactly right. Yes, sir. One of the greatest joys of the job is ending there in the 911 center before I retired. I absolutely loved it.
Okay, well, with that at hand, I'm pretty sure that you had some say in on who you hired or you who you fired too, if need be come out.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Unfortunately.
so with that at hand, if I was to come and apply for your agency and try to get a job with you, as you as the manager, the supervisor, the director, whatever title you hold, what kind of qualities are you looking for if I was to come and like wanting to get a job with you? What kind of qualities would you look for in me?
I can think of some of the basics. I've already mentioned communication skills. I mentioned also the detail and the oriented of the job and the nature of that compassion. I mentioned empathy and sympathy. The decision making is difficult to look at in an applicant. That has to kind of be tested a little bit in time. So thankfully, we have training programs in place that should I make that decision to say, hey, I'm ready to bring Bobby in-house and he meets the minimum criteria, let's see how he does stacking up in training for several weeks and into the months ahead to see whether or not you're a good fit for this profession. It's, I often have said that, not everybody can be a dispatcher. Not everybody and not everybody should be a dispatcher or call taker, because it is difficult to put a weight on your ability to handle the emotions of what you'll be put through, whether it's anxiety, you'll be able to calm the anxiety of a caller, or your demeanor and being able to keep track of these things emotionally. It's you're behind that headset, so you're hearing all the difficulties that a caller may be going through, and being able to provide those details to at least get our responders in place and get them moving in that direction. But how do you process those things after the caller hangs up? So there's a lot of things there. Also, effectively listening. I mentioned to you a moment ago about being able to communicate. It's not just being able to talk and speak, but it's also the ability to listen actively. And that's one that can take a little bit of time to see what a new hire coming in the door is able to do with all these very intricate details of processing the skill set necessary to be a great call taker.
I have a question for you, Mark, if you don't mind. If, say, I'm going through your hiring process and you feel like, hey, yeah, Bobby might meet that kind of requirement, yeah, we might give him a chance, but there's also somebody else there too that's you're saying, well, I'm on the fence with this. We only have one position. Do I go with Bobby or do I go with this other person? What would make me stand out to say, hey, you need to choose me?
Wow, that's a difficult decision. That's where it goes on my training and experience of looking over employees for 30 years of experience and being able to read the early signs, I guess, of what may be good and bad. You know, the other thing too, Bobby, is it's easy to look at somebody and put somebody in a particular position and see if they can answer the phone and handle the software and process the calls, but they got to be part of a team too. Even though you may be the one person that's behind that headset, and you may be that person that's in a cubicle or whatever it may be, you still got to be part of the team, whether it's the team in-house in your communication center, or the team of being part of the firemen, the policemen, and the emergency services personnel. So not everybody can do that. Not everybody possesses all those very detailed skills to put it all in a nice, neat ball and roll it downhill and see who makes and who doesn't. So that's a very difficult question, to be honest with you.
That probably was a little bit of unfair question for you, but okay. So let's move the time clock up a little bit. All right. So let's just say, hey, I made it. You said yes. We're going to hire Bobby. Let's give him a shot. Now I become one of your call takers. I become one of your dispatchers. Now, how do I make myself better working for your agent? How do I show that I want to move forward, or what I need to do to make me say, hey, yeah, Bobby's doing great at this. What would be a good thing that you would look for?
Constant improvement and training. I mean, you have to have a willingness to learn and expand upon your knowledge. And as a field trainer for years in law enforcement and communications and academies and things like that, one of the things is you got to be willing to adapt to what's going on around you. Again, from then to now, from very little computerization to almost everything is computerized. What's your availability to learn new software coming in the door and adapt to those things? I did have some thoughts as we look down this road of today's podcast, and there's probably, you and I both probably have a few folks that we look at over our years of career and say, this call taker, this dispatcher, this telecommunicator was just above and beyond. And I do have, out of a lot of the folks, I do have one of those employees that is I still remember distinctly that this lady was very intuitive to what not only the calls coming in, but the police out on the street and what the police needed for the nature of their call they're going to, what the firemen needed, what EMS needed. And this lady was just amazing that she just absorbed this and was very intuitive to what was needed to produce a very professional employee. And she still stands out in my mind today, that I think of her often and think, man, what she was just amazing, that the things that she did. That others, we can all sit there and just sit back and take our calls and punch the buttons and hang up. But to punch those buttons and push the radio and talk to the officers and talk to medical and talk to fire personnel and look at some history of the nature of the calls that may be a particular address, or look at the history of someone that we may be dealing with on the telephone or on the street. This lady was extremely informative and always reaching out there for more and more knowledge to be better at herself. So, long answer there is always look for improvement.
What I think I'm understanding from you is that it's not necessarily something you're going to get in a book.
Definitely not.
In order for me to be truly exceptional as a telecommunicator in this field, I would need to probably, number one, have the heart for it, right?
Absolutely.
And the willingness to look out. Because I look at it from the other side of the radio and this side of the radio now is, you mentioned as a team, it's a big family. This is your brothers and sisters out there that you are sending into these things that might be their last trip before they come home. And it takes a special person to be able to take and do that. And also positive or even the negative part of it, have to deal with it after the fact. Man, I tell you what, if you until you break it down and think about it, it ain't a Monday through Friday job. You don't just push the time clock, do your time, and go home. A
It's a
lot of
calling.
times, it's a calling. Oh wow, that's a good way of putting it, Mark. It's a calling because I know as a police officer, there were some calls that I went to that I could not just turn off, and I ended up taking them home with me too. So with that at hand, I know things have changed a lot since whenever you and I came on back in the 80s. Yeah, that's right. Y'all heard us, the 80s, all right? But a lot of things have changed, and there's a lot of resources and everything out there for everybody now. So I hope that ones that are in this field, the ones that are listening to this podcast, understand that there is resources out there for you if you are dealing with something that you need to deal with too. Just a side note on that, okay? Well, Mark, I want to thank you for your time, buddy. Always great talking to you, man. Seeing you again. I hope that we can get together and do this again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time, Bobby, and please let me know whatever I can do to help out and do these podcasts for our call takers around the world.
All right. Thank you, sir.
And for our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, give us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts. Let us know what you did like. Subscribe and be sure to follow us on our Instagram, our Facebook at Tell Me Exactly. To get the latest on all things emergency communications, you can visit our website at tellmeexactly.prioritydispatch.net to submit questions for our experts to answer. Tell Me Exactly is a Priority Dispatch Corporation podcast. It's developed by our team of protocol experts and is regularly hosted by Meredith Jensen. I'm Bobby Benton, serving as a guest host with Cody Ekman as producer, Reading Roberts as sound engineer, and Scott Robertson and Jason Barber as executive producer.